All right, well, let's get started. Thank you for coming to today's meeting. So today we're going to talk about the software update we're going to be releasing this week, which is the MERS. The big thing is the MERS update, where we're doing the new MERS defined benefit contribution and the MERS
defined contribution.
So then we're also going to have a teaching section on work orders and preventive maintenance. Let's move on to the MERS contribution file. All right, so in payroll, you're going to see a new option that says create MERS export file. And this is how we're going to create our MERS, the new MERS export file. So your first thing you do is you select which type. So we have the 3 types right now, and we're going to do the MERS defined benefit real quick. So we pick which month and year. So it's going to be 2020. And I'll do August. Then you click on your load payroll data. So it's going to load all the payrolls that were in 2020 August, which are just 2. It's going to give me my defined MERS plan number, which I've already keyed in as, the magic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And then you pick which deduction codes, and I've already selected for the MERS defined benefit that it's an R. For the deduction code, that is my MERS deduction code. So then I click on calculate, and it will show me everybody in the list. Now, these are just fake numbers that we have in our system. Okay, so basically then we show the name, and over here we have your compensation amount and the tax amount that's supposed to be calculated. Okay, so once it shows lists and you kind of agree that these are the 3 people that get it, you create the MERS update file, and we give a predefined name of the year, the month, your plan number at the end of it, and whether it's defined benefit or defined contribution. So I'll go ahead and save that. And really that's all there is to it. And then you can just take that file and that CSV file and upload it to MERS. Okay, now if we pick on MERS defined contribution, and we do YY again, yeah, YY, put in my new plan number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, the magic number. I calculate. So this again shows everybody who's in that plan and their compensation and the amount that came in. And again, same thing, you create the MERS file. And this one has defined contribution in the name. So hopefully then when you go to your documents folder and you go to the MERS, you'll be able to pick the right file to upload to MERS when it's time to do that. And hopefully it'll make it sense if you have, both plans. So it's real quick. It's not that complicated. We do remember from time to time. So if I go back and do a MERS defined benefit, and I'm going to go for the next month of September, and I say load, it remembers that RR, or that R was the MERS defined benefit one. And of course, if I do the same thing with the contribution, we remember that YY was the other one. All right, so that's really all there is to the changes that we did to MERS. And if you want, I think the file layout, if we look at it in Excel. Okay, so let's move on to the teaching side, which is on work orders. So that's under equipment maintenance. And I'm going to look at truck 27 because that's the one I've kind of made right. So the reason you'd want to do work orders is so that you have a way, a computerized way to look up and see what you've done already to a piece of equipment, who's done that work to the piece of equipment, and what kind of parts you've done, whether there's something special you did, things like that for a variety of reasons. So it's just a way to organize and maintain and keep track of, instead of like 65 papers in a filing cabinet with a folder for each piece of equipment to show everything you did to it. It's just a computerized way to do that. It's not that hard to use. It's just, you know, a matter of getting used to the way it works. So if I come under here in work orders, you can see that we've done some work orders to that. We're currently working on this one, standard settings for that. But I'm going to go look at something that happened a little while ago, which is this air leak tire system. So you come into equipment, you pick your piece of equipment, and then you click on the work orders tab. You'll get the list of all the work orders open and closed that you see for that person, or for that piece of equipment, sorry. And then you can click on, you know, if you want to see an individual one, you can click on that. So I'm going to click on maintain. There's this button down here kind of is big, and it doesn't really reflect itself as a button as much as you'd think, but it's just a big, you know, place down here. So you click on the maintain, and you get the details of that work order. So here's the description, and a work order has tasks that go with it. So each task then, just like work order, you click on it and you click maintain on the task, and you get the task information. So again, this is, you know, air leak under the cab, a tire, auto wash, and an auto grease the system and a wash. So again, once labor's been posted to a work order, if you click on the labor button, you can see all the employee number and the amount of labor that was charged to the work order line number for that work order. So also we have a place where you can see what parts were charged to this work order, as well. You know, the parts when they're charged out to a work order will be charged also to the piece of equipment. So, but it's just a way you can say, okay, this work order picked up this one inventory code and used it as part of the piece, and it was $136. If there was a special order, you can click on the non-inventory parts, and this is, we're going to look at AP to see if there's any AP post directly to that work order. In this case, there is. That's why I picked it. And then finally, mechanic notes. This is what the mechanic can do when he's done with the work order. He can put in all the notes for what he looked through, you know, and set basically what's going, you know, with what's happening. So it's not that hard. I mean, it's a fairly complex system that, you know, has it, but it's got all the pieces. It's just a little bit tricky to start to use, and remember to click on the maintain instead of these buttons on the side. You can certainly click print. I'm hoping print will work here. And here's a print of the work order. Let me maximize that so everyone can see it. And we do have barcodes on it for the barcode system, so that you can scan the barcode of the work order. Again, that's real quick on work orders. It's just kind of a show and tell that we have it, the pieces you can do it, the reasons you'd want to do it. It's helpful to know what's open, what's not open when you're looking at different things for work orders. It's helpful to know whether you know, certain pieces have been completed. You know, maybe you got this thing coming back in for another air leak, and you're thinking, hey, didn't we just do an air leak? You have an easy way of going back and looking here to say, oh, we already just did an air leak just a couple months ago. What's going on? So there might be some other cause, you know, that's making the hose, you know, wear prematurely. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. These webinars aren't really meant to be a full teaching sale, but just more of a, this exists, it's there, it works pretty well, and we want to make sure that people know about it and maybe we'll start using it.
Hey, George?
Yes.
Does all this have to be put in manually, or does any of this pull from like your AP or your inventory or any other parts of the system?
As far as what parts are used on an inventory, that all comes from AP and inventory. So if you went to, when you go to AP, let's say, okay, this truck does have one open work order. So if I go into payables and I go to payable post, so if I come in here, we have a spot in the distribution. So I'm just going to put in $233. So down here, if I'm charging to a 110, I believe, account, which would be one of your inventory parts account. So if I come in here and I put in an inventory code, no matter what it is, there's a spot in here for it to tie to the work order. No, this would be a direct charge. I'm sorry, this would not be an inventory part. This would be a direct charge. So that'd be a 510. There's where work order comes in. So I could hit this work order, 21, work order number, this one, line 1. So if I posted, you know, any kind of activity for, like, I bought something directly to be charged to the truck, this would be like your non-inventory part section. So if we put in here, test it, and I save it, then if I came back to work orders, there's the test it. So within the work order system, they don't have to say, oh, this came from AP. But basically, when you're in the AP system and you're direct charging to the truck, it is for a work order. As long as they specify the work order and line number, it'll maintain itself and come into here. Same thing with inventory post. If you're charging out a piece of equipment and it happens to be for a work order, you'd want to specify the work order instead of necessarily the piece of equipment for a inventory charge. It'll ultimately make it to that piece of equipment and show in all the other reports like it was, but if you tell us what work order will go to, then it will happen in this system as well. You'll see the parts that were used. Preventive maintenance. Now that's a whole nother creature. When you're looking at preventive maintenance, you want to make sure that you're bringing in your pieces of equipment for obviously preventive, like, everyone thinks of preventive maintenance as the oil change for their vehicles or their cars. But it's a lot more than that, because a lot of times, a lot of systems will have, like here, he's got a four layer of preventive maintenance. So he wants to wash, grease, and inspect the vehicle much more frequently. Then he wants to, add the filter. Then he wants to change, basically, each one consistently gets bigger and bigger with more and more. So as the fourth PM comes in, for truck 27, it basically has the ability to, make that. So what we tell people to do is kind of set up like a beginning truck that has, for all of my trucks, I want to see everything coming in, at least once every month for inspection, once every 3 months for an oil change, once every certain amount of time frames when you do it. And as I get through this, you'll see that it's just not time. We can work on preventive maintenance can be worked on mileage. So you can say, I want to see this every 3 months or 3,000 miles, whichever comes first. You could say you want to see this like seasonal. So I only want to see this from the months of April through May for like mowers and things like that. There's a lot of flexibility in the preventive maintenance to be able to do a whole slew of things. And then we have one thing that's kind of unique that other preventive maintenance systems wouldn't have, which would be labor usage. So as employees have said, I use this piece of equipment on a job, we can use that as a meter, the number of hours of usage as a meter as well. If for things like, chainsaws or blades, other things that would be, you want to see how much usage was put onto it, how many hours where it was in use, that after so many hours of usage, you want to see that piece of equipment come in for preventive maintenance. So there's a lot of different things that can trigger the preventive maintenance coming in. It's just what you want to set up and configure. So if we go into here and we maintain, let's just look at the first one. So basically what he's saying is his meter type is hours. So he's got on this truck or vehicle an hours meter. So every 150 hours, he wants to see this coming in to the shop for a wash, grease, and an inspection. And so how do you get those hours? And we call it, I know it says every X meter, but on every X meter, you can also do every X days. So if he wanted this to be every 1,500 miles or every 30 days, he could put in 30 days here. And then we have the months then are for the seasonal. So if you don't want to, if you want to exclude months, that's the seasonal time frame that you can set. Again, a lot of this stuff is just, as you get down through here, there's a lot of things that make it tricky for different parts and different ways. We certainly will be glad to help you with understanding all of that. But again, today's just kind of get your feet wet a little bit to show kind of how this is set up and how you can work with it. Now he could also change, let's see what we got here. The meter type we also have is, he's only got set up to 2, which is mileage and hours. So if you set up the meter type usage, that's the one that comes off of how many how many hours has the thing been told by an employee that they used it in the field. So then if we look at the second tier that he set up, and that's coming in, remember the first one was 150 hours, this one's every 450 hours. He wants to see this. And then the third one, every 900 hours. He wants the piece of equipment to come in for wash, oil, and all filters. And then finally, every 1800 hours of usage, he wants this to be fluids and all filters. Now, how do you get these, how does these numbers grow? How do we know if a piece has been done? So part of preventive maintenance is also, being able to go off and read the meters. So once a week, you might go to all your pieces of equipment and read the meters. We have other places where we have like an import meters reading that will take like an Excel file that you can fill out and import all the meters, or you can come in here and directly key each one in. So again, we come in here and we say maintain, equipment code, effective date. So you can say new, and effective date is today. My reading type this time was hours, and the meeting reading was 4972. So we're going to make this one 5120. So that went at the bottom actually because it's brand new. So here's your 5120 that we just put in. So again, the thing about preventive maintenance is you got to have something that's going to meter the system. That's why a lot of places will use mileage, because sometimes their fuel system will have them key in the mileage of the truck when they refuel it. And like the other one is the usage that just happens as payroll's posted. Whenever they say I use this piece of equipment, we just continue to add it. So all of this kind of boils down to, if we come into here, there is a work order calc part. And this basically says this is the work orders that I'm going to generate based on the preventive maintenance that I've got. So we've got, here's our truck 27 one. So it'll generate and create a work order that will indicate all the pieces of equipment here that's checked. You can uncheck them so it doesn't do it. But basically, these are all the ones that have a PM ready to go. And so you can just say generate work orders, and you create the 13 work orders. So if I come back into equipment maintenance and we go to truck 27, go to work orders, here's the preventive maintenance that came in. All right, so that's just a quick overview of preventive maintenance. There's, like I said, there's a lot more that's involved in it that you can set up in a lot of different ways of setting things up. It's got a lot of power to it that'll help keep your fleet in top-notch condition. So by this way, also you don't have to remember that we haven't seen truck 29 or 28 come in, and we haven't seen it in a while, so we got to do it. And you end up with a lot of little notes on a calendar and a lot of little things to do it by hand, but or possibly you have an Excel spreadsheet that would help, or maybe you have some other software that's doing it for you as well. But we do have the ability to do the preventive maintenance. It does work fairly smooth. Like I said, it's just we want to make sure everybody's aware that we have this, that it does work, and it definitely has power and functionality to it. The biggest thing to remember that when you're trying to get into it is it's this maintain at the bottom, whereas you still get used to or comfortable with these side buttons. It's really the maintain at the bottom that does most of the editing and work on it.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.